KJ and Dondero. KJ Carson and Mark Dondero.
On Boston Sports Station, WEEI.
The very latest here, Tom Brady is planning to retire. Now, his family has denied that he's retiring, and his agent has said that only Tom Brady can speak to the accuracy of a story like this and when or not he's going to announce his retirement. So there's nothing official from Tom Brady. They've been trying to figure out the timing on this, and he hasn't communicated it to the Buccaneers. His agent said that Tom knows the realities of the football business and planning calendar as well as anybody. So that, in the words of Don Yee, Tom's agent, quote unquote, should be soon. And that will be the case, that he'll wind up retiring, transitioning on to the next chapter of his career, despite the fact that everybody's denied it at this point in time. But he knows and has been planning to move ahead into the next phase of his life, to spend more time with his family. He talked this past week on his podcast with Jim Gray about the sacrifices he's had to make, about how satisfied he is with this point in time. And this would mark the end of the career of the greatest quarterback we've ever seen, a man with 7 Super Bowl rings, 10 Super Bowl appearances, and every single passing record in the record book.
Okay, Adam, I've just got a real quick second here, but I want to be clear. You guys are still standing behind this story right now, though the Brady camp is waiting to announce it on their terms. Is that accurate?
That's correct, Reese.
Absolutely horrible. It's KJ and Dondero. Turn it up a little bit, Justin, because that pank journalism sucks. What was Schefter doing? You just heard the report. Well, they should, or they could, or they might. That's pank journalism. You know, if it was Wendy Williams or if it was Perez Hilton doing the pillow talk, that pink stuff I get. But it's all over sports now. It's pank and it stinks. There are journalistic people out there. You just heard. Mark, how you doing? I'm sorry.
Hey, what's up, KJ?
Look. You've had multiple news organizations around the country yesterday have to walk stuff back because of that stank, pank journalism from Schefter. Just because you got 10 million people who follow you on Twitter doesn't mean your pillow talk is true. It's pillow talk. How is it different from Wendy Williams? Well, they could, they should, and the family's denying that you don't have a damn story. You don't. And here's my point. And then I'm just going to breathe. I need to breathe in through my nostrils and out my mouth, as my therapist would say. When are people going to say enough of the crap of the people who've got the little, just because you have an Android or an Apple phone doesn't mean you've got it all. This is pillow talk. And here's the other thing, Mark. So he says that him and Darlington both break the story together. I didn't know someone could lose their virginity twice. KJ and Dondero, good Sunday morning to you. Hopefully your back is not as sore. You know the trick is take Advil or an ibuprofen before you shovel. Take breaks. Don't handle more than 6 inches at a time. How are you, Mark?
KJ, good morning. I appreciate your fiery open. I feel good after shoveling. And I'm going to say this about what you said. I don't necessarily agree with you. I think that this falls on Tom Brady, because here's how I think this went down yesterday.
Oh, my God.
I think this went down. Now, he deserved more respect, I guess, from those guys. But this is how I think this went down. Tom Brady, for whatever reason, got in bed years ago with Jeff Darlington. Now, I don't know if this is exactly how it happened, but I think this started with Jeff Darlington and some of his connections with the people close to Tom Brady. As a result, Adam Schefter came in. Adam Schefter got involved, and then eventually they both came to this conclusion that the report was ready to go out, and they released it. And it was, in association, Adam Schefter with Jeff Darlington, and boom, you had the bombshell yesterday that Brady was going to retire. Why Tom Brady got in bed with Jeff Darlington in the first place, I don't know, but I think he opened himself up to this type of possibility. Now, I don't know why he waited. I mean, he wasn't going to do it the day of the championship game or the weekend of the championship games. I don't know how the story got leaked, but these are reporters, and they're going to report what they hear. Obviously they didn't talk to Brady, but enough people around Brady talked about him retiring. They felt like they had enough to go with it. That's their job. I don't think Brady ever should have let them as close as he did. That's on him.
No, I'm putting this on Schefter because if this was Stephen A. or Shannon Sharp or Nick Wright or Michael Wilbon or even Wiggy, who actually played with the guy that sent this tweet out yesterday, they would be walking them back. They would have them in any news director's room. They would have legal in there, sitting in there with the whoop. But because it's Schefter, oh, it's okay. And then even gets a chance to walk it back when Chris, what's the guy's name? It's not Chris Fowler, or I forgot the guy's name who was calling the basketball game
Reese
at the
Davis.
time. Reese Davis, there you go. He gives him a chance to say, hey, are you sure? Are you really sure you used a lot of shoulds, woulds, and could'ves? And, if nuts and buts were what's and ifs and whats. So
Do you think Tom Brady's going to retire? Do you think he's going to announce it sooner rather than later?
We said that last week.
Okay, so
but see, we're in the opinion business. Hey, KJ, hey, Mark, what do you believe is going to happen? But when it goes out as fact and it goes through the social media channel, and now you have news organizations, big and small, having to walk stuff back, that's total pank journalism. It stinks.
I think that both Darlington and Schefter, and believe me, I'm not the Darlington and Schefter apologist here, but they made it clear this was not an opinion. They are reporting that Brady is going to retire.
Adam Schefter's reporting what?
They are reporting this, and they're on the record. So if he doesn't retire, they're going to look real bad.
But that's an open face sandwich. We already know that Tom has time to do what he wants to do. So if he retires in August, that still makes them right? Or they're hungry, knowing that they want to jump the attention of the the NFL playoffs that are the two final games. You know there's a blizzard here in New England in the Northeast, so you feel like, hey, here's a way to jump on it because a lot of people on the ground here are immobile. That's why I say it's total pank journalism.
Oh,
It's nothing but sleep talk. It's pillow talk with these guys.
They caught wind of what Brady planned to do. They felt like they had enough sources, so they ran with it. Now, if you wanted to talk about why they did that, or maybe they should have showed Tom Brady some more respect.
Because they're pank journalists. They're panking. It stinks.
I mean, Adam Schefter made his name on not reporting on a story about John Elway back in the day, and then he gained all this trust from Elway, and that really took his career to another level. You could have argued that they should have done that with Brady, given him the respect to let him announce it on his terms, but they're also reporters, and if they want to be first, if they think they're right, I understand that mentality.
KJ and Dondero on WEEI, 617-779-7937. That's the Harbor One hotline, or the text line 37937. Look, with everything going crazy yesterday, Charlie Weiss called into Bradfo, and he says, look, Tom wouldn't do something like this.
Well, there's a couple things. And now let me preface this comment by talking about Tommy retiring. There's no way Tommy would have put this information out today, because it would be a distraction to the games tomorrow. That is not his way. So even though this is probably true, we all know that he wouldn't have done it this way, because he's not looking for attention. He would have waited till Monday or Tuesday till the games were over, on the dead week, and go on ahead and said it then. So there's probably some people that are pretty annoyed right now that that this came out public. I'm talking about it because it's public, but I mean, there's not a chance in hell that Tommy would have come out and done it himself today. There's not a chance.
Congratulations, Schefter and Darlington. You now are in bed with Wendy Williams and Perez Hilton. Why do they just call their segments the tea with? Why don't they just, I've got the tea. Ooh, I've got the tea. They're pank-ass journalists.
Well, let me just say this. Whoever's at fault here, it is a damn shame that Tom Brady's retirement announcement got messied up like it did yesterday. Okay, this should have been cleaner. It should have been more organized. It should have been better timed. This is Tom Brady, the greatest athlete in the history of American sports. And we'll get into all that later, but this should have been better executed than it was. And I bet Brady's pissed. I bet his camp is pissed. You have TB12 deleting tweets, deleting tweets. Did somebody say he's overseas? I thought he was overseas. He's calling the GM of the Bucs to backtrack and, no, I haven't decided anything, only for, I don't know, an announcement to come down in the next few days. Because I think Tampa owes him like $15 million on February 4th.
Right, when the bonus kicks in, yeah.
Yeah, he'll do it before then, so he's not, he doesn't put them on the hook there. I don't know. It's better. It should have been better than it was. This is Tom Brady. He's got all the control over his brand. He's got the production company. The way it happened with the Patriots, was well executed. It should have been like that. There should be a video. It should have been well timed and uninterrupted. And it's a damn shame that it got jacked up the way it did yesterday.
So look what they did with Drew Brees last year. They waited for Brees to hand in his papers to the league, and then their sources at the league office says that Drew Brees has handed in his retirement papers, thus ending his X amount of years career, right? Okay, so when you start getting into these sources, especially now with this pank journalism, okay, one source needs to either be someone at the league or or with the Bucs, right? I've talked to an official at an NFL facility that this is happening, right? Because then you could say, okay, someone leaked the phone call that Tom made to the Bucs and said, hey, when I come back, I'm going to pick up my bonus and I'm out.
What is the pank journalism? I mean, they found out what was going on through sources and reported it. That's their job, isn't it? What did you want them to do?
Can they verify? So how come it's not been verified? How come it's not been verified? That's my whole point. If you're going to put out a story, you cannot wait for it to be verified 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months. You don't know until you wait at least until the retirement papers are handed into the league. There's a deadline for that. And as you said, look, you said exactly what a lot of people think. Tom deserved better respect than this.
He did.
And you said, hey, this is what happens sometimes when you get into bed with pank journalists. That's what happens. You believe you can trust them, and then when it comes for them to have to deliver what they believe is their Olympic gold, that's when they decide, hey, I'm going to drop this now, at the total antithesis of the player of how they would do it themselves.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Tom Brady thought that these guys would have treated it better. You know, I think
after 20 years, you learn to trust no one.
Maybe. But, you know, after the career he had and maybe giving these guys some of the access he's given them, I wouldn't think it's crazy to believe that Tom Brady thought that he was going to be able to make this announcement on his terms. I don't know. Maybe that's naive of me.
Well, Mike Giardi talked to Bradfo yesterday afternoon, and he says, look, the timing of this seems off.
It makes you look bad because, really, you're going to announce this or you're going to let this leak the day before the conference championships when, you know, all eyes are on these 4 teams, and we've got a Super Bowl coming up in 2 weeks, and the attention should be on that and not on you. I mean, this is something Aaron Rodgers did, right, last year, the day of the draft, you know, although he's denied it. But, I mean, be real. He leaked that information to Schefter, to Rappaport. They put that out there on the day of the draft, and it dominated the first part of the draft because it was like, well, maybe they're going to get Rodgers. Maybe they're going to get Rodgers. Like, well, if they draft a quarterback, does that mean they're going to trade the quarterback to get, you know, it was the whole thing because he wanted it about him. Tom certainly likes things about him, but I think this reeks of something that he would not do.
617-779-7937. That's the Harbor One hotline. The text line, 37937. Get in the conversation. After Trend, we'll get to Eddie and Mike. We're going to take your calls. We'd love to get your thoughts. It's KJ and Dondero here on WEEI.
For nearly 30 years, the home of the Boston sports fan. Now here's what's trending on WEEI.
Trending now on WEEI and WEEI.com. The big story today, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter and Jeff Darlington, Tom Brady is retiring from the NFL. Despite backlash and confusion following the report, ESPN and Schefter stand by their initial report. Patriots offense coordinator Josh McDaniels interviewed with the Las Vegas Raiders for their head coaching vacancy yesterday. According to Ian Rappaport, McDaniels had dinner with Mark Davis and other members of the Raiders' upper management on Friday night. Rappaport also says if all went well in the interview yesterday, McDaniels could be hired as soon as this weekend. In other news on the Patriots coaching staff, ESPN's Mike Reese is reporting longtime Patriots running back coach Ivan Fears is expected to retire. And more football here. Conference Championship Sunday kicks off today with the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs at 3 o'clock. And the San Francisco 49ers traveling to L.A. to take on the Rams at 6:30. You can hear both those games right here on WEEI. The Boston Celtics defeated the New Orleans Pelicans 107-97 last night as they advanced to 26-25 on the season. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown combined for 69 points in the win, and Marcus Smart totaled a season high of 12 assists. The Celtics are back in action tomorrow as they play host to the Miami Heat. Tip-off is set for 7:30. And finally, the Bruins, coming off their 2-1 win in Arizona Friday night, will be in Dallas to take on the Stars tonight. Puck drop is set for 7. That's what's trending now on WEEI and WEEI.com.
We are right back to it.
KJ and Dondero.
On Boston Sports Station, WEEI.
Could you leave proud and satisfied, or would that always linger with you this last loss?
I would say I'm proud and satisfied of everything we accomplished this year. So I know when I give it my all, that's something to be proud of. And I've literally given everything I had this year, last year, the year before that, the year before that. Like, I don't leave anything half-assed, you know? I think I leave it with everything that I have. My physical being, I work really hard on that. I feel like I give everything I can to my teammates, although, you know, it is divided attention as you get older because there's different priorities and responsibilities in life. And, you know, I have things happening outside of football that require some time and energy. Not a ton, but, you know, the kids require time and energy, and that's enjoyable for me too. So, again, it's a, you know, I'll know when the time is right, and there's no rush to make a decision. So, you know, we'll just see.
KJ and Dondero, WEEI, part of the Sports Radio Network across New England. The Harbor One hotline, 617-779-7937, has Eddie in New Hampshire. Thank you so much for calling us.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Yo,
Eddie.
Eddie.
Adam Schefter is so out in front of his skis on this one, ain't he? I'm just saying, this is like ESPN on something else. So you just want. Tom Brady said he's going to retire at 45. So when he had that conversation with Giselle, she's like, well, when you're 45 during the season, you're going to retire right there? It's like, no, I'm going to continue playing the whole season. After I'm 45, I'll be done.
So, Eddie, do you think he's going to come back and play next season?
All I know is he's trying to make everything be the way he wants it for one more year, and why wouldn't you, right? There's a lot of people you could bring around the NFL to just – why wouldn't you even go $20, $30, $40 million over the cap for 1 year to win a Super Bowl?
Eddie, thanks for the call.
Do you think he's going to play next year? Did he answer the question? I don't think he answered the question.
I think he believes that he will.
Okay.
And just put a bunch of people around him. All right, Mike in East Longmeadow. Thanks for calling KJ and Dondero. Go ahead, man.
Hey, guys, how are you?
Hey, Mike.
Excellent, thank you.
You guys said something that really got me going a little bit while ago, and I'll give you both of them. First of all, one of you said that Tom Brady is the best athlete in sports. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
He's the most accomplished athlete ever, Mike.
No, accomplished. Wait a minute. That's not what you said. It wasn't accomplished. It was the best athlete in the history of sports. He is the winningest, the most accomplished. I can't argue that point. My point is Tom Brady is Tom Brady, and he is a quarterback and part of a football team that has offense, defense, and special teams. He's accomplished more than any other football player, and he is the winningest. I can't argue that. But to say that he's the best athlete, are you kidding me? The other thing is somebody said that he would never have this come out and distract away from football. Have you been watching Tom Brady for the last 5 years?
There's no way he would have done this on championship weekend.
Not a champion. Not in
and
the
I
middle of the
agree with you.
season.
Look, I don't agree with Charlie Weiss where he said that it was something Tom Brady. The attention is not something he'd want. Yes, he does. He wants the attention. There's no way he would have done it on the championship weekend.
Yeah, if you're saying that Tom doesn't want the attention.
Do you remember? Wait a minute. Do you remember when he was with the Patriots? The Patriot way was always no distractions, no nothing. The year that they went to the Super Bowl against the Rams, during the playoffs, as the playoffs were starting, it was all about Tom versus time, which is something that never had happened prior to that. Tom Brady is all about Tom Brady and his brand. Football is there, obviously, but he's looking for life after football, and that's all, to me, he's been about for the last 3 or 4 years.
Correct.
And this is not surprising to me that he's released this somehow before – the championship, before the Super Bowl, because he wants some of the attention still. I think he's a glory hound. Personally, great, but he's a glory hound.
Mike, thanks for the call and stay safe. You're doing the shoveling, man.
No, I disagree with Mike to a point.
I'm with you.
Brady would not have wanted this out on championship weekend.
Right.
He does like the attention, but not to sacrifice the guys that are playing this weekend.
I mean, who could forget the meme of, is Tom walking into the stadium or is he walking out of the stadium? Like the horse meme, is the horse going forward or backwards? Right. And Tom did that. That's not in the middle of the season. That might be the day after the Super Bowl. but it's not going to be, hey, we still have games to talk about. So it's like Tom has a respect for the game, but you have to respect Tom for all of his accomplishments. You're not going to just sit at home and be like, I have 7 Super Bowls and I have no marketing arm and I don't do any of that stuff. He's not going to Mike Trout it. You know what I mean? So you can't be mad at Tom for trying to push his product, but you also can't say that Tom is trying to push his product when the product that's made him is still going.
Tom Brady, if we're going to get into sort of looking at his career just in totality, Tom Brady has the greatest resume in the history of sports, and I don't think we in our lifetime will ever see anybody surpass it. When you talk about
Russell's is impressive.
Russell's is impressive. It is not Tom Brady's. Okay?
Russell is the first black head coach in the NBA and wins a championship right after that's named during the civil rights time. I'm going to give a slight edge to Bill Russell.
Sure, go ahead. But I'm not, because I think Tom Brady, in this level of competitiveness that he had to deal with year in and year out in the NFL, his ability to lead a team, a franchise for 20 years, the things he did in the playoffs, the things he did in the regular season, the consistency, the amount of championships he won, winning with multiple teams. This resume, it's better than Jordan, because Jordan had so much control over the team on the court as a basketball player, just in basketball. One superstar can change things and change a team so much more easily in that sport than in football. He's better than Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods didn't have to worry about leading anybody. He didn't have to worry about team chemistry. He didn't have to worry about setting the tone for a culture, for a group of men. Brady had to do all of those things, and his resume is more impressive than any other resume.
Okay, Mark, doesn't that discount some of the defensive stalwarts or the Corey Dillons coming in to really be an accent to what was going on with the team? Look, I can't completely disagree, but I can't say, hey, Tom gets a 100% A on the test when it comes to everything that's happened in New England. Does he get a 93 and an A? Absolutely. But it almost sounds like you're saying like 100% this is Brady. Are you saying 100% Brady?
No, I'm not saying 100% Brady. I just think his resume is the most impressive in all of sports. You look at the longevity, the records, the championships, the moments, all those things he accomplished, perfect season. That's unprecedented. He's got the best resume ever.
The Harbor One hotline to reach KJ and Dondero, 617-779-7937. The text line is 37937. Let's go to John in Norwood. Thanks for the call, man.
Not to take anything away from Tom Brady, but I think it's kind of 22 seasons. We got the 22 Blizzard. Maybe that was just Tom Brady setting it up. I think we should.
Okay, so now he makes 22. Snow. He's a snowmaker.
Tom Brady Blizzard. He brings the snowmaker in. He says, "You know what? This is my last thing for you guys in New England. Here you go. I'm going to retire. It's the Tom Brady Blizzard."
Let me guess. I bet you're probably going to say that he got exactly 22 inches at his old house in Chestnut Hill. I'm sure that's what you're saying, right?
You know what, gentlemen? I'm going to put this out here right now because you guys have got the ears of everybody. I want to know how many inches are at Tom Brady's old house in Chestnut Hill. If it's 22, then we got to rename this blizzard the Tom. We don't have to call it the Tom Brady. We can just call it Tom. Think about it.
Who's going to risk it and go sneak over in that neighborhood and pull out the yardstick?
Who lives in that house now? Did that ever sell?
There's somebody out there. There's someone out there in a plow going, you know what? This guy's got an idea. And he'll call it.
John, thanks for the call and for the laugh, man.
First guy who calls in.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry. He was saying something about the first guy that called in.
That's all right.
All right, let's go to Dan in Rhode Island. Dan, thank you so much for the call to KJ and Dondero. Go ahead.
Good morning. Hey, Mark. Good to hear you on a Sunday.
Dan, what's up, man? Good to hear you.
Hey, Mount Rushmore is 4 people, but I consider only 3. It's Jordan, Tiger, and Brady, okay, if you've just taken winning. All right, and I put character somewhat into this, and we know Tiger was kind of, the image, and then obviously his wife with the 8 iron. He wasn't what he made out to be. We know Jordan with his betting. Nobody knows how his father died, all this mystery about him. He wasn't the nicest guy either.
Yeah, but that's conjecture right there. We're talking about a death there. Tiger, yes, he went ahead and got the Denny's. He got the Denny's waitresses a little action. Yes, we could say that. But
Jordan, do you think Jordan stepped away from basketball to play baseball because he wanted to, or because it was quietly you're betting things out of control?
As a person who personally knows Jordan, I'm not going to give in to any type of conjecture on that. I'm not at all.
All right, here's my point then. Like Brady is the cleanest, most unflappable athlete that I think I have ever seen. He's always been straight out. Yes, he's about himself now, but like you guys said, he has the right to do it. So my point is, he can do whatever he wants, how he wants to do it. I think he is beyond criticism. I don't think you can criticize the guy for anything for this point moving forward. And I'm sure this just got out because people in 2022 can't keep their goddamn mouths shut. You know, that's why. And he probably wanted to announce it on his own at some point in time, but now the crap hit the fan, and this is how we work.
Thanks, Dan, for the call. We appreciate it.
Hold on a sec.
Yeah.
I just got to backtrack and say, you personally know Michael Jordan?
Yes.
I feel like I want to hear more about that at some point. You know, like how did you get a relationship?
We're discussing Tom Brady here.
Okay, we can talk about that.
You know what I mean? Like, one numbers and letters, they both can be counted, but this is not the same topic.
Okay,
fine. But I will say, being a little more familiar with those situations that occurred around his father, I am not going to give into any conjecture at all.
Yeah, and you can put Bill Russell, obviously, on that Mount Rushmore. Dan didn't do that. You could put him there. I just think, look, nothing against the guys that played back in the day, but I just don't think it was as competitive in the 60s when you talk about baseball, when you talk about basketball. And let's be honest, some of the visuals associated with those eras just aren't there. There wasn't internet access.
Have you ever heard the joke? You ever heard the joke they said if Havlicek would dribbled that way, he would have 8 turnovers in a game in the modern game because they'd steal them?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. Look, it just wasn't as competitive back then. The athletes are better now.
Havlicek has the ball stolen.
Tom Brady has dominated. He dominated his own generation. I mean, we've talked about it a million times. He's got how many Hall of Fame careers? 3 separate Hall of Fame careers. He's got a Hall of Fame career essentially in his 40s. He's dominated his generation of quarterbacks and the next generation of quarterbacks because he's 2-0 against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs and he's 4-0 against Josh Allen or whatever.
Tom is a future legend killer. And what makes Tom so special is he had a second act and now a third act, right?
Yeah.
So Tom Brady's like the Rolling Stones, right? The first set of Rolling Stones is different than the third incarnation of the Rolling Stones where like Emotional Rescue and stuff like that comes out. So Tom has been able to, even though he didn't change his game, he stayed the same in a game that was changing, and that is super impressive. Let's go to Phil on the Cape on the Harbor One hotline, 617-779-7937. Phil, are you good with power? Because I know the Cape got walloped yesterday.
So actually, I plow for the state. I'm up in Stoughton right now.
God bless you. God bless you, man. Mark, a hand for these guys out here plowing today.
Appreciate you, Phil.
Yeah,
we're trying, baby. We're trying.
Yeah, I mean, I would be on a Kubota like at home, just practicing before I had to go out. Just get out my driveway. All right.
I'm in an international. I got 11-foot blade in the front, an 11-foot blade on the right, and a big sander on the back, making it clean.
Hey, God bless you, man. Get this guy a free dunks, man.
Listen, I'm not going to push it. There's nothing free for a plow guy. We get good money though. We get really good money though. So no, I'm not complaining. Listen, 2 questions for you guys. And number one, when Brady retires, which I believe is now, when he retires, can Brady wash his hands 100% from the NFL?
No.
Yes.
Correct. The answer is no. I'll save you the spoiler. Ready? Because Josh McDaniels goes to Oakland, or goes to Vegas rather, and Tom Brady becomes the Patriots' new offensive coordinator. And
okay, Phil, what are you doing with that rock salt there, man? What are you really doing? Are you inhaling that stuff, man?
Listen, ESPN. I've been on the phone with ESPN all morning, and our sources have confirmed that in fact. This is
we
what's
got another banker here.
Well, listen to me.
Yeah,
Who
Phil.
studied the same way Belichick did every single play for umpteen years? Belichick and Brady, man, they whether it comes to film review, knowing players, knowing the players' home lives, the field life, the whole deal, it only makes sense. Brady's not walking away, and what better way for it to go down than that? So I'll let you guys discuss. Have a great weekend,
we appreciate
guys.
the call, Phil. Let me just chime in real quick, AJ.
Yeah, go.
There was all this tension associated with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick leading into Brady leaving the Patriots and going to Tampa. Now he's going to come back to New England, not to play, which he loves to do more than anything on this earth. No, he's going to come back to be the coach under Bill Belichick and work for him as the offensive coordinator. No, that's not going to happen.
I think he does still tie to the NFL because if you've watched the Nickelodeon broadcast, then this ties into Tom and what it's going to look like as being like he's like because you talk about Mount Rushmore in his home right now. The foreheads on Mount Rushmore in Tom Brady's house is Giselle. All right? And Tom's got to get his head on at least one of those, so at least he could have 3 Giselles and 1 dad.
So how do you see him staying involved with the league?
I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see him pop up on some of these Nickelodeon broadcasts. Bring his kids, have fun. Yes, absolutely. If you're going to teach the game and you're the greatest player just left, what a way for kids to get indoctrinated by Tom Brady's here. He's got his kids that are, tween years. It's fun because their kids are more likely to watch the Nickelodeon cast than the Manning cast.
He's old. His son's 14.
That's a tween.
Okay. I guess. I mean, if you consider that being involved,
I will be an owner and I can make all the decisions that I want.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do that. But I don't think in terms of television, in terms of week to week going and talking to teams and broadcasting, he may do that once the kids are all of adult age off to college and him and Giselle can kind of travel the way they want to do it. Hey, stop by our Twitter feed, WEEI, at WEEI. There's a poll that kind of gives Pank Schefter, that's going to be his new name for me, do you believe Brady's retiring sometime in the next few weeks? Gives Schefter a little line, right? Yes, he's done. He hasn't decided yet, or no, he's coming back. You could vote, and it's amazing some of the results already. 617-779-7937 or the text line 37937. It's KJ and Dondero. All right, Justin, what do you have on the text line? Because I know somebody's coming with guns a-blazing.
Well, there's a lot of people wondering where Gretzky is in this conversation of the Mount Rushmore. In terms of the Belichick and Brady and Bill Russell that you guys are talking about, a lot of people have texted in about Gretzky.
Okay, so you know how Gretzky gets on the on that Mount Rushmore? The NHL has to fold, right? Because then it will be legendary stories like, man, you should have seen it when it was Gretzky and Messier and Grant Fuhr and they were like Hollywood. You stayed up till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night as a kid to watch this guy play. They moved him to L.A. just so that way the L.A. franchise could stay open. But the NHL, it's got to shut its doors before Gretzky gets on there. So I understand the argument, but as long as there's a subpar product out there, which is happening right now with the NHL in some of these markets, that's why Gretzky kind of gets forgotten. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, no, I look, you could definitely make an argument for Wayne Gretzky. Some of his stats, I don't have it right in front of me, but he has some insane stats.
92 goals in one season.
Like he's got more assists than the second guy has goal or something like that. I mean, hockey, you could argue the popularity of hockey compared to golf. I mean, Tiger, what's more popular, golf or hockey in America?
Well, but that literally kind of goes to terrain, right? So in southern states, you got the Masters in Georgia, you've got these Doral and so forth. In climates that golf is going to be more popular and hockey kind of makes no sense. And then when you go like north of I-70, that's where hockey is going to be more popular. And the golf courses, they've been tarped over for 2 months now. So, look, we're up against the break. When we come back, we'll talk more Brady. We still got to get to the NFL games that are going to be here on EEI this afternoon. For hanging out for KJ and Dondero, thank you so much. Hit us up on the Harbor One hotline, 617-779-7937, or the text line 37937. Thanks for hanging out.
We are right back to it.
KJ and Dondero
on Boston Sports Station WEEI.
Spend some time with my family and spend some time with, my kids. And,
hello.
Hi, Vivi. I can't hear you. Said hi, Vivi.
Hi.
It's my little angel. Get some time with her and we had waffles together this morning, which is really nice. And you know what? I think as I've gotten older, I think the best part is football is extremely important in my life, and it means a lot to me. And I care a lot about what we're trying to accomplish as a team. And I care a lot about my teammates. And the biggest difference now that I'm older is I have kids now too, and I care about them a lot as well. And, they've been my biggest supporters. My wife is my biggest supporter. It pains her to see me get hit out there. And, she deserves what she needs from me as a husband. And my kids deserve what they need from me as a dad. And, I'm going to spend some time with them and give them what they need, because they've really been giving me what I need the last 6 months to do what I love to do. And, I said this a few years ago. It's what relationships are all about.
KJ and Dondero, WEEI, part of the WEEI Sports Radio Network. That is the greatest. Talking about what life is like possibly after football.
Can I just say something in regards to those comments real quick?
It's called the KJ and Dondero Show.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. Okay, so I'm going to be clear about this. I believe, and I'm not saying Tom Brady doesn't want to spend time with his family or isn't focused on prioritizing his family or anything like that.
That stuff is important.
But I think the biggest reason he's retiring right now is because he takes a look at the landscape of his current situation in Tampa and does not believe going forward that they are going to be able to assemble an all-star cast around him in terms of weapons and skilled players and a juggernaut offense. And I think that is uninteresting to him. And he is not going to be for being in a situation where he has to bring guys along or get to know new people or have a lack of weapons at his disposal while he goes out there to play quarterback at age 45. If he knew that Tampa could get him the Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans level pieces around him, I think he would have played. I think he would have stayed. And I don't think we would have been having this conversation. But I think he sees how Brown was gone. I think he knows Godwin is gone. He got hurt. Mike Evans is still there. Gronk isn't what he was. I don't know how much confidence he has that they're going to be able to supplement his other weapons with all-star level pieces. And I think that turns him off. And I think that is at the foundation of why he's retiring. He doesn't think he's going to have a juggernaut offense around him. I think that's the main reason he's retiring, not family.
So you didn't hear Tom's warmness when he talked about him making waffles that morning? You didn't hear that?
Look, of course.
Wait a minute.
I did. I heard that. I love waffles.
I have a 10-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
You have children as well.
Yep.
And at some point, right, they love waffles. Mine loves pancakes. Put blueberries in them as well. Oh, my gosh. We'll do anything. Clean the room. Whole nine. But look, there's another GOAT status Tom has the chance to go for, and that's in terms of being super dad. And that's something where mom is undefeated, right? So there are competitions probably going on right now, like let dad show you the way bacon should be made. Mom is making it on the stove. I'm going to show you the secret of putting it in the oven. I don't know. Wait a minute. That's going to fuel Tom's juices probably even more so now than camp, players, coaches, quarterback rooms. You've been doing that for 20-something years. You now have kids who are either getting closer to adulthood or getting into their teenage years, and I have a kid that's in their 20s. Trust me, once they hit about 15, everything is about their friends. And the last thing you want to do is be the greatest football player in terms of acumen and championships and the whole nine, but come home and no one's around to eat your baked bacon. Nobody.
So what are you saying? He's going to get competitive about who makes better pancakes?
That's fun at home to be able to say, I outdo mom. And for those who are like, oh, I'm sure they probably have someone making their food for them. Yeah. Guess what? The way they spend their money is not the way you might dream it. So they just might make their pancakes. He just made the waffles that morning.
That's fine. But you heard that clip. He was talking, I forget exactly how he phrased it, but it was something like, yeah, I have kids now. And you have kids now? Justin and I looked at each other. He's had kids. He's had kids for more than a decade. This isn't new. He's been doing this with kids.
Look, I've worked in probably 8 different cities. My oldest daughter can't remember any of my jobs in like the first 4 cities. She doesn't remember anything before 10, maybe even 12. So when your kid is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it's kind of fun that dad's on FaceTime. Dad's on FaceTime. Oh, yo. But now when they start wanting to talk to you about things and changes are happening and how do I feel about things? And social media is now a big conversation, man. It takes both people to be on deck. All right, 617-779-7937. It's KJ and Dondero. Lou in Florida is on the Harbor One hotline. Good morning, Lou. Don't make any jokes about how it feels good down there because guess what? Florida has an intellect problem. So what? We've got a little bit of a weather problem here.
44 degrees down there.
It's 32 degrees. They're all freaking out down here like, oh, my God, it's so cold. I'm like, hey, it's minus 17 back in Maine, guys. This is nothing. Just relax, okay?
Yeah, what you got, Lou?
You brought up something very interesting earlier when you combined Brady with Nickelodeon.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, somebody's work that I love who does a lot of work on Nickelodeon is Nate Burleson. Wouldn't they make a great team together?
Yeah, I don't even think Tom would have to be there every week. It's just like, hey, Tom is stopped through. Oh, my God, it's Tom Brady, and they flash. He's won 7 Super Bowls, kids. And even the slime, they could put up SpongeBob as Vinatieri's making the kick in that first Super Bowl win. And Tom Brady is now like he'd be the George Washington and the George Washington Carver as well, inside of these history books for these kids who you're trying to get to know the game with his kids by his side. It's a layup.
Exactly. And you're right. They would eat it up. To have dad slime somebody in the end zone, they would eat that up.
Lou, thanks for the call, man.
I mean, hey, I'm not saying you're wrong. That's a hell of a pivot.
It's okay if you do.
Look at the kids, man. What about the kids?
Look, I'm not saying I don't want to come off as if I don't think Tom Brady wants to spend more time with his family or wants to focus more on his family. I'm sure he does, but I just think if he had a huge time, a big offense around him with all the weapons that he became accustomed to in Tampa, I think he'd want to play another year and he'd do what he was doing. Whatever with the relationship with his kids the last few years. He'd make it work, he'd manage it, and he'd play another season. I just don't think the weapons around him excite him enough to want to go back.
I think when Christian Wirfs went down and you started seeing Tom take those hits against Philly, I think he was just like, you know what? I'm now tempting fate.
Yeah, we saw back in 2019. He was uninterested in working with younger receivers that had to develop.
I'm talking about 3 weeks ago when he was getting put on the ground more than he should have been.
But Wirfs is going to be back.
Yeah, but you're going to be a year older. See, here's the thing. When Tom says he's going to, he wants to play till 45, I think it's very much how they count time in soccer, right? That if someone scores a goal when it says 85, 80, 89, 89, or 89, 52, that's the 90th minute. So technically, you're in the 90th minute. Technically, we are into the 45th year, right? Follow what I'm saying? That into the 45th year, he could say it's over. I think if there's a perfect world, Tom announces the retirement around his birthday. He probably asked the Buccaneers to keep it quiet, but there would be no way to keep it quiet because you'd have to file the paperwork and everything.
Never have done that. That's in the middle of training camp. He was not going to do that.
So?
He wasn't going to do that.
Hey,
he has more respect for the
organizations
that employed him and supported him. He was not going to do that.
617-779-7937, Harbor One Hotline. You can reach KJ and Dondero or the text line 37937. Plus, there's a poll right now at WEEI on Twitter it's firing up already. Do you believe that Brady is retiring sometime in the next few weeks? Different than Pank Schefter, who's like, it's going to happen. Yeah, of course. The sun's going to come out. Way to go, weather guy. Yes, Tom is done. No, he hasn't decided yet. Or no, he's coming back. I think he's decided.
He's done.
It's just a matter.
He's done.
Well, we said that last week. If he lost last week to the Rams, that it would be Tom's final game. Think about it. We were both carrying crosses in front of Pontius Pilate to some people last week, but guess what? I think we were right.
Hey, KJ, give him credit. The way he went out that last game, I know they lost, but he comes battling back. I mean, it was vintage Tom Brady. It wasn't a bad way to go out.
It's not a bad way to go out. Right. It's a better way to go out than Jordan decided to come back.
Or Aaron Rodgers.
Brady's gone.
Yeah, it's KJ and Dondero. We'll talk some of these playoff games, plus get more of your comments on Tom's retirement. When does it happen? If it happens, we love to hear from you. Plus, we're standing by on this Josh McDaniels news. It can happen at any moment. So hang out with KJ and Dondero on WEEI. The second hour is next.